From a man that's been struck by lightning 7 times to a woman that got struck by a meteorite, we take a look at 5 of the unluckiest people on Earth. Number 5. Alabama's biggest rock star. Ann Hodges made history simply by taking a nap. In 1954, she was resting on her couch in Alabama when a hunk of rock burst through the ceiling, bounced off her radio, and smacked into her hip. It was a meteorite. This being the height of the Cold War, Americans were paranoid about junk falling from the sky. So the police confiscated it. A public uproar ensued, with folks insisting that the rock rightfully belonged to Hodges. She was, after all, the first person in recorded history to ever have been struck by a meteorite. Instead, the court handed the hunk of iron to Hodges' landlord, who returned it to her in exchange for $500. Number 4. The Civil War's Charlie Brown. Wilmer McLean just wanted everyone to get off his lawn. In 1861, the Battle of Bull Run, the Civil War's first major skirmish, started near his farm. McLean's house was used as a Confederate headquarters. 1 year later, soldiers traipsed back onto McLean's property, sparking the Second Battle of Bull Run. Combined, the battles resulted in more than 20,000 casualties. By 1863, McLean was tired of having strangers die in his yard and moved to Southern Virginia. But the war followed him. In 1865, the Army sparred one last time, near McLean's new property. General Lee would sign the truce in, of all places, McLean's parlor. McLean recalled, "The war began in my front yard and ended in my front parlor." I guess at least he had a front row seat to history. Number 3. Tough ship. Violet Jessup and Davy Jones were not on good terms. In 1911, Jessup was working aboard the RMS Olympic when the liner collided with a British warship. 1 year later, she was aboard the Olympic sister ship, the Titanic, and as we all know, it became a little too intimate with an iceberg. Again, she survived. Later, during World War I, Jessup worked aboard the fleet's third sister ship, the Britannic, when it too struck either a torpedo or a mine and sank. Oral hygiene being high on her list of priorities, Jessup refused to abandon ship until she saved her toothbrush. Today, she remains a hero to shipwreck enthusiasts and dentists everywhere. Number 2. Dynamite Dog. In an attempt to quickly create a large hole for fishing, Harry Jenkins first lights, then tosses a stick of illegally obtained dynamite across the ice. To his horror, his pet dog Jerry, a Labrador retriever, races across the ice in an attempt to retrieve the dynamite, thinking that his master is throwing a stick for him. This isn't going to end well, is it? The dog picks up the dynamite, despite screams from the men, then starts to run back towards them with a wagging tail. The 3 men realize they're in worse danger than they thought, so they begin to run for their lives in the opposite direction, with the dog chasing them. The men narrowly escape death, but the explosion not only blows up the dog, it also cracks the ice near the truck, which then sinks through the surface and plunges to the bottom of the lake. Number 1. Mr. Electricity. 7 is a lucky number to some, but Roy Sullivan would disagree. He's been struck by lightning 7 times. He's a Virginia Park Ranger, and he's had such bad luck that on one occasion, a bolt struck him inside a ranger station, setting his hair on fire. After that, he carried a can of water wherever he went. But Sullivan's 7th strike was possibly his strangest. Sullivan was trout fishing, and after Mother Nature lit him up, a bear stole his fish hooked on his line. When Sullivan recovered, he hit that bear with a stick, got into his car, and drove off in a daze, perhaps feeling lucky that the bear didn't see him as a main course.